Blessings to all, and welcome to another episode of Elevate the Mic. And I'm your host, Max Mupese. And today is a wonderful day, not only because I know this guest for quite some time, for over 10 to 15 years, or even 20 years, but we're here to know a little bit more about the one and only Taigenz. So before I even let Taigenz speak, I want to give you guys an idea of who he is and how he started in this music business. He's not only somebody who has experience in the rap game, quote unquote, as a rapper. He's somebody who has transcend not only into rap, but he also makes music in French, Latin music. He goes all across the board. Like if ever you want to know more about how his music sound, I would give you he's more of like a flavor between the today's Burna Boy and the young 50 Cent. So you don't know what you could expect from this artist. He could give you something in French, like I said, in Spanish, but he's here to talk about his story and what he brings to this community. So we have the one and only Taigenz. How you feeling, man?
It's good, bro.
Man, pleasure to see you in the flesh.
For sure.
100%. So how would you say is how you feeling these days, like as far as like a creative or even as a person?
Yo, I feel good. I feel like it's every day is, to be honest, especially as of late, every day is a new space. It's a new space because, you know, as you mentioned, like we've known each other for a long time, and what I was dealing with or what I was going through, what I was putting together years ago is not what's happening today, but it's a continuation and it's a new space. There's a point in time where, especially when you're trying to develop yourself as an artist independently, where you feel like you reach, it's like what's the word I'm looking for?
Not a
It's
plateau.
like a vicious circle. It's like there's like a certain vicious circle or like a rat race where like you feel like you're trying to elevate, but you're not. You're just doing the same things, but just at different times, and it can get daunting. You know, you release a song, you get whatever response you get. There's not much of a follow up, or you don't feel like there's a lot of motion or traction, and then you go back to the studio, you record, you say, okay, this song might be it, and then you release it again. And then it could happen, and then the same thing, maybe a bit more traction than before, but not enough to feel like where the needle is being pushed. Go back to the studio, record again, and all that money is being spent, time is being spent, energy is being spent, and you don't feel like there's a return. But, there's a point in time where I was feeling like that for X amount of time, but you just got to remember that at the end of the day, if this is what you want to do and you want to build, like these are the stuff that you gotta go through it. You gotta go through it until, something at one point you reach a certain glass ceiling, or at least you start seeing what didn't work. You start seeing what didn't work in the past, and you can make quick adjustments, and then you could get to the next level gradually. If it doesn't have to be fast, but at least it's gradual. A step forward is better than no steps. And I feel right now that, especially in the last year, I'm coming off a very good year, 2023. It was probably one of my best years creatively and as an artist. And I'm just trying to take that in stride and continue advancing. That's why I say it's a new space where I'm at creatively and where I'm at in my career. And I'm happy, and it's exciting. It's exciting, yeah.
That's dope. And for people who are watching this for the first time, they don't know, you were born in Montreal, right?
Yeah, born and raised Montreal, born uptown, but, moved to DG very young where, we're that's where we're from. And growing up in both uptown and DG, like it's right beside each other, so I'm really happy. To be honest, I'm happy like that's where I grew up, because I was able to find myself very young. And I think I had to be in a place like, in an environment like the NDG to be like, okay, I think I know myself enough to figure out certain lanes that I don't need to touch, and other lanes where I know I can explore and develop myself. This is all at a really, really young age. Yeah.
And what would you say are some values you retain to this day based on that experience?
I learned at, grade 1?
Yeah.
Grade 1, I learned that at the end of the day, you have to hold yourself down. You have to hold yourself down before you expect anybody else to hold you down, because anybody can turn on you at any second. It could be friends, could be family, it could be anybody. And that doesn't mean you gotta go about it negatively. You gotta be cynical about it. You just gotta make peace with that. Like I learned subconsciously to make peace with that. That way, whatever happens, like whatever storm is happening around me, I can stay solid on my 2 feet. Because then it's like, okay, I know I got me. And if I got me, everything else, the chips are gonna fall where they may, but at least I know I got me, and then I can adjust from there. So, you know, I learned to appreciate people however they are. People got their flaws, people got their qualities, just take them as they are, and do what you can. Like the time you spent with people, appreciate that time if it's positive, and if it's not so positive, don't be mad at them. They say don't be
Right.
like, I said don't be mad, but it's just like, don't think the world is out to get you. The world is the world. The world is the world, and everybody has their own mini world that they're living in. So you just got to make sure your own world is solid for yourself. And then when you mix worlds with other people, they have their own storm, and you can still stay on your 2 feet. And that's something I learned at like 7 years old. Maybe not the way I'm expressing it, but just like
but you still
as a feeling.
internalized it in a way.
You know, and I've just been adapting that every stage of my life. You know, as I got older, as I learned more, that core understanding just stayed, but morphed into all the other lessons in life I was learning as I was getting older.
It's a very stoic approach, or even stoic philosophy.
It is.
Because I've been paying attention to a lot of stoic philosophy.
Yeah.
And that's usually the way they approached it. You know,
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, and they always understood that, you know, you have to let things be as it is, or as, you know, you don't necessarily want to control certain things. You know,
Nah,
it's out of,
I
it's out of
was
your
never
control.
I was never a control freak. I was never the guy to try to control every single situation around me, because it's never gonna end. You know, me, I live by 2 codes. I love sleep and I hate headaches. So anything that point of view is what allows me to sleep at night and limit the headaches.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, but like this is like, I don't know if you knew at this point about me at that time, but that's the time where I was getting headaches daily. I'll go to school getting headaches daily, and that was affecting my sleep too. So I think all that put together just like built into one way of thinking, and that's where I'm at now. So no, you're right. I guess it's basic stoicism that I learned before I knew that was a thing, you know. And I understood that, you know, once I got older, started reading more books, and I understood, okay, I get this, you know. So yeah,
That's powerful. Now, could you tell us also about your early days of listening to hip hop, and how has that changed your life? Because I remember, man, for those who don't know, elementary days, at the back of the bus, you had your notebook, notepad, and just writing your rhymes, or even freestyling.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about how those days have impacted your life?
Yo, I tell people, I'll never forget the moment where I first understood, okay, this is hip hop, and this is, like, I gravitated towards it, was when I seen Eminem and Dre
Dr. Dre,
perform
right.
Forgot About Dre, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was MTV Awards or something like that. And then the music video came out, like, this was when the song was fresh, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, and then still, like, that was a single after Still Dre, but I heard Still Dre afterward, and I was just like, yo, like, I'm hooked, you know? And yeah, and then, you know, that leading up to writing in class, writing in school, writing on the bus, I think, sorry, what was the question about that?
So what would you say, how has that changed your life? Just being part of that community.
So that's kind of a continuation of what I learned, the whole thing about when I was younger. Hip hop was actually the one thing that kind of saved me mentally, where it's like, okay, I was at the space where, yo, what can I do as I'm getting older? What can I do to contribute to this world we're living in? You know, at that time, some guys were nice. We're finding, like, other kids finding themselves, whether it's ball, whether it's other stuff in school, you know, like, everybody is finding themselves, and it's like me, I'm like, yo, okay, school is one thing, fine, like, I was never a bad student in school, you know, like, I was doing my thing, but I never saw value in that necessarily, outside of what, you know, where our parents come from. They instilled that you got to, whatever happens, you got to go to school. Okay, fine, I got that. But me personally, is like, what is a gift? Do I have a gift? You know, do I have something that makes me stand out? And once, like, hip hop, when I really understood what it was, or when I internalized it, it was like, it was so easy. It was so easy. And then when I remember when I started writing and just putting words together, like, it just felt so natural. Like, I'm like, yo, is this what I'm supposed to do? You know? I think, and with that, that actually helped me stand out, and that helped me gain more confidence in myself.
Right.
That helped me gain more confidence in myself, and to this day, it's like I've been in the world. My head's been in music and in hip hop longer than it hasn't. So it's literally in my blood. It's in me. Like if you remove that, you're removing 80% of me, 90% of me. So it's like I can never separate from it, you know, in like at a core level. But it saved my life, because without that, I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably just be, I don't know. I'd probably be following whatever is happening, just going through the motions of life. And that allowed me to not do that. That allowed me to see that people go through the motions of life, and then I could take a step back and create my own motion. You know?
And by creating your own motion, you were able to create your own identity and remember, okay, you know what, certain things relate to me and certain things do not. Okay.
That you know, because when you hear, and that help, you know, you hear songs, you listen to music, you're hearing what other people are doing, what they're going through, what they're writing about, and then you mimic, not you mimic it, but like you internalize it in your own way, and then like, okay, what can I talk about? Because by writing about yourself, by writing what you're going through, you subconsciously remove yourself from it. You give yourself a wider picture, give yourself like a third world picture. You give yourself as if you're outside in the world, looking at yourself from the outside.
Right.
And then you get to see what you relate to, what other things are happening around you that maybe you didn't see if you didn't write, because you remove yourself from thinking so narrow. You know, when you're writing metaphors and you're writing punchlines, you have to think of how you connect with other things. But by doing that, you got to remove yourself. You got to take a step back. You know, I'm nice like Kobe with the shot. Okay. You got to take a step back. Like, okay, yeah, Kobe is nice. Kobe got rings, whatever. R.I.P. of course.
Right.
I'm fresher than a white tee, you know, like something like that, you know. But you gotta, it's simple, but you take a step back, and it's like you're using poetic devices, and by doing that, you're thinking out, and then you're like, yo, okay, and then you apply that in your day to day, and you see how things connect, and then with that, you could think for yourself more independently too, and I think that's really dope.
Got it. And you've rebranded yourself quite a few times. When I say rebrand, not only your name, your image, like you were once Young 10 for those people who don't know.
And then breaking out.
You went to Taigenz, and you also by the new look, which is pretty dope,
Respect.
actual dope.
Respect.
You know, got the red, I see that. Now, have you ever worried about how people would perceive you? Like, okay, you know, you went from Young 10 to Taigenz, and now your look has changed.
I think I'm gonna say it like this: when we started, Young 10. For those, if anybody's familiar with the name Young 10, that means you was there way back. But no, I wasn't. The reason why I wanted to make this switch, for example, with the name, is because I wanted to stand out. So I didn't worry about how people perceive me. I just wanted them to perceive me. You know, I didn't care how you see me. I didn't care, but just I needed you to acknowledge my presence. By having Young at that time, Young Jeezy, Young Jog, all these guys was there. It's like, okay, it doesn't make me stand out. So let me remove that and make the adjustment. And Taigenz was created. And I think I remember Dad told you, I'm like, yo, it's no more Young 10, it's
Right.
Taigenz. This is years ago, you know.
Right.
But I didn't want to go back to Young 10 maybe because I wasn't comfortable. But then OG told me, he's like, yo, you're not gonna be quote unquote young forever, but you'll be Taigenz forever. I'm like, yo, you know what? That could solidify it. And then since then, it's like, you know, what I tell people, if they can't, my whole life, you know, I'm of African background from Cameroon. And my whole life, people, not everybody knows how to pronounce my name or my last name.
Right.
So I decided to play on that and use Taigenz. Not everybody can pronounce Taigenz when they see it. But I make the joke with them, I'm like, yo, my name is Taigenz. You get it once, you get it forever. And so far, it's always been the case. If you pronounce it once properly, you'll never mispronounce it again. So I never worried about how people would perceive me. I just wanted to make sure that when I step in the room or when my name is said, I wanted to make whatever impact it can make, because then it's a seed in the person's head, you know. And then when they really see what I'm about, it's like, okay, this is what's happening. You know, he planted a seed and is curious about it, and then seeing a whole world of what I'm trying to do. And I think, and this is like when I was much younger, but
Right.
you know, as I got older and I understood more how the game works, how the music world works, how how the life of as an artist manifests itself, all that put in place, it's like it just became natural to really be like what you're seeing is just a visual manifestation of just what's going on in my head. Like I just, you know, you want to stand out but still be so solid on your feet that whatever room you step into, no matter how you look like, they'll see you and they'll see that you just have confidence in yourself, and they'll have no choice but to respect it. You know.
You said it once, you don't have to say it again. So it's Taigenz, not Taigenz. Got it? So now, you also were part of a group which is called a group was called Black Gloves, from NDG. Shout outs to everybody who was part of Black Gloves. We don't want to miss out any names. And how would you say that experience helped you sharpen your skills as an artist?
That experience helped me. It helped because you're learning how to create with others, especially at a young age. Like we was really young when we were moving all together. We were really young. We were kids.
Yeah.
But as kids, and we're all just learning our own way how to navigate. You know, we as kids infiltrated the Montreal industry, at least on the Anglo side, in a serious way, where like we were being respected by, you know, some of the older cats at the time, or more veteran cats, and we just figured out how to navigate all together, and that I picked up a lot just by, okay, I'm in the room with other people, I'm in the room with you know, we're all from the same area, we're all growing up, we're all living certain experiences together or individually, and we're all putting it together in a song. And like, I'm happy to know that we were actually nice. Like, everybody had their individual skill and talent. And what helped me, that experience helped me understand that I really want to do this. I really want to do this. You know, back to the point of whatever's happening around you, you got to be solid in yourself and whatever decision you make for yourself. And that really confirmed that, yo, whatever happens, I really want to do it. Like, I remember we was playing ball, and then after practice, we go to the studio.
Right.
Or we go record. Or we go to a show. You know, I'm not doing homework on the weekends. We're either recording or we're looking at spots to go perform at. You know, we're going to other schools to perform. You know, it became a thing where at one point we was doing, the end of the year, we were doing like hitting up other different schools, some schools that we weren't even students at.
Right.
But because we know people in different areas, like, yo, come perform at our talent show, come, you know, and that was dope. That was really good. You know, you had him on the show, Don Smooth.
Yes, Don Smooth.
He was there. You know, he welcomed us when he had the radio show. You know, I'll never forget it. I was going there, Street Sounds K103, and having our stuff played on the radio. And I remember, I'm like, this, we're so used to hearing it on our side, but hearing on the radio airwaves, it's like, yo, this is nice. So yeah, shout out to Don Smooth. You know, and I think, yeah, like I said, I'm happy I went through that experience. I think one of my proudest moments with the group was when we did we were on one of the openers for Wiz Khalifa when he came, and this is like 2010, right? This is Black and Yellow had just dropped, you know, and then Wiz Khalifa came to Montreal, so we were in that mix. So I'm happy that I went through that experience because that taught me a lot. And as we're all growing as young kids, as teenagers, into young adults, you know, we're all figuring out our space in life, and you know, yeah. So just shout outs to everybody that was involved. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm happy I went through it. And yeah, I think I would have been a completely different person if Black Gloves didn't exist.
Right, got it.
Yeah.
And you're also a member of Advance Canada, if I'm not mistaken, Advance Organization, which is a Black music collective.
Yeah.
So how would you say that experience has helped you evolve?
So shout out to Advance Black Music Collective. Before anything, their goal is to basically help give more opportunities for aspiring Black professionals in the music industry. So when I got involved with them, that was like my first time in the music industry on the back end. Not necessarily as an artist, but just like, okay, I'm in the space now where artists, like I'm in the space where these are professionals that work with the artists, but these are people that help set the foundation and the backbone of the industry. And I was able to learn a lot of just like who is behind different music industry associations that in the country, who is doing what, who is professional in publishing, who is a professional in stage production, who is a professional in music recording, etc., etc. And that helped me. Yeah, that helped me have a better perspective on the structure of the industry, whether as an artist or just as an overall black professional. So I'm happy that I've been a part of Advance. Shout outs to the team in Toronto. Shout outs to the Advance Quebec team that's over here. And they stay working. They stay working to try and elevate black professionals in the industry to, especially for ones that are coming up, because you can't have the same people doing the same thing for forever. You got to have people to come and take their place. And they can at least advance. What they're doing is they are the body that is there to at least help providing answers or connecting you with other people who got answers that maybe didn't exist 5 years ago, 10 years ago, So that advance has helped me in understanding the industry more on the back end and knowing maybe where to get certain answers for certain questions, or not even knowing that you had certain questions until you're faced with, okay, this is a thing. Oh, this is a thing. Okay, how do I use that to help my career? Or how do I use that to help the community I'm a part of? So, yeah.
Would you say also it helped you become a better networker or even connect with people in a better way?
Oh, yeah,
music professionals?
For sure. Because Advance got me indoors in certain places that maybe I wouldn't have had access to, or it would have been harder to get access to. Just to know that you're part of Advance, and you go in certain rooms, or you meet with certain people, you shake certain hands, and okay, I've seen your name on whatever, but you're in the flesh, we're shaking hands, we're talking, and I see who else you're interacting with, and then the world just gets smaller. The world just gets smaller, and I've learned that, at the end of the day, people are people. People are people. They say the industry is a people industry. It is, because people are people. At the end of the day, they still have their own things. They still have their own personal lives, and they're all there because they collectively just love music. They love music. So you're looking at people and you shake their hands. You just talk to them. You talk to them like a person. When you talk to them like a person, from there everything else will land where it lands. Maybe you have something that they could use, or maybe they have something that you could use, or you guys can help each other in a common project or a common goal, just for the overall development of the industry, and that will in turn help you regardless. So that definitely helped me as networking and figuring out how to approach people in a respectful way, in a way that has respect and integrity. Because the last thing you want to do is, this is another thing that I learned, is I never want to be that guy to create relationships out of
thin air.
Out of interest, like not out of interest, but it's like I don't want to force
transactional.
I don't want to force. I don't want to force relationships for my own personal agenda, because then it won't work, and they're gonna smell it. They're gonna know. Any person, pun intended, any person who's advanced in the industry or in general, they can smell somebody who's just trying to talk to you just to get something out of it for them. That's not the point. The point is to, first of all, see who's in the community. And yeah, it's a community, so what is the common ground you could share with people, and then what can you do to help? Maybe you may not have anything in the beginning, but if you just the fact that you keep showing up helps. You keep showing up, and then somebody be like, hey, I need an extra body for an event next week. Are you want to? Yeah, for sure. I can you could just lend your time. You could lend your time, and then that person's gonna be happy, and then they might ask, yo, what you got going on anyway? What's happening on your side? Oh, I'm if you're an artist, I'm working on my album, whatever, and I'm happy you asked me to pull up, because this helped me put some things together on my own game plan, So and I'll be like, okay, well, send me your stuff. We'll take a look, if I like it, But nobody's promising and nobody anything. But people are just helping each other and helping the community. So yeah, it's never to try and force a relationship or make it transactional. It's just letting things happen naturally. You just keep showing up places, lend your energy first. Lend your energy first, lend your time first, and then whatever comes back will come back, and it'll eventually help you in what you're doing.
You said at first you wanted to stand out and you said showing up.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's watching this, make sure you stand out by wearing that green jacket and you show up.
And you show up.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. You show up and
stand
bring.
out.
Yeah.
So for anybody who does not know how much Nipsey Hussle meant to you, because you're a big Nipsey Hussle fan, you really appreciated his music, supporter, I should say, rather. What would you say are some things that Nipsey Hussle left behind that you currently applying in your day-to-day?
There's an exact parallel. You know, his thing of the marathon,
Right.
that whole concept, that viewpoint, that way of life. I applied it in what I'm doing. That's why, you know, my other, I don't want to say my other name, but like, you know, the term Muntree that I use is to represent roots, is to represent like, there's the play on words where, yes, we're from Montreal, but in Muntree, the idea of a money tree, you know, I flipped the idea of, they say money doesn't grow on trees, but it does. It's not money per se, but it's ideas. Ideas are, they can grow out of nowhere, you know, but the trunk of the tree is you, and your roots, you know, you share common ground with people, you share the same roots with people in a fresh soil. So as you grow, your roots get deeper, but your ideas develop because you're sharing your roots with other people, other energies. And then if you could execute and manifest them, then they'll bring you back returns, which may be money, may be whatever. But all of that takes time, and you need to water it. And no garden can grow, no forest can grow in a day. So it's the parallel of the marathon, where it's like, yo, run your race, you know, and run your race, and it's your own lane. Nobody can run your lane for you. Nobody can be in your lane because nobody else is you. It's just you. So run your own race, and you'll get to the finish line at the time you're supposed to. But it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So yeah, that's one thing I learned from Nipsey Hussle, just the way he went about his career, taking the long route or taking whatever route he felt was best for him without compromising himself, you know. And that's something I really felt I could replicate in my own way, because yeah, you could say I'm taking the long route. You know, I was never signed to a label. I never looked to see, okay, how can I get a big, let me just try and follow the trends 100% just so I can get attention from label and then sign, get a quick, like, no, that never happened. But I also realized it doesn't have to happen like that. You know, I just got to keep building. A slow build is better than no build, you know. So like, yeah, Nip was definitely the main inspiration. Like, that was added inspiration, added motivation, especially post Black Gloves, you know, where I'm really just, okay, Taigenz, really trying to grow myself. How do I develop myself? And that was a main inspiration. So you can understand me speaking that, like, so, yeah. And like his, you know, his passing obviously was like, that was the first time I ever cried for somebody I never met, you know? So his passing really affected me, but the fact, what he left will continue to influence me, you know? And yeah.
Got it. Totally understandable.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I mean, just the fact that his presence meant that much to the world,
Yeah.
and some people never met him. Well, most of the people that were crying never
Yeah.
met him.
Yeah.
So that just gives you an idea of like how impactful or how truthful he was
Facts.
as a person. What would you say if you talk about, well, because I understand that you have an album coming out or a project coming out.
Yeah.
But like I noticed that you wear different hats, many different hats. You also do voiceover, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're an artist, voiceover, you know, entrepreneur also. You can't forget that.
Yeah.
Chop Life, Balok.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What does that mean?
So, Chop Life is the project I'm working on, and it's a simple term in Pidgin. Pidgin is what we speak in Cameroon, predominantly on the English side, but you have Pidgin in Nigeria, you have Pidgin in other Anglophone-speaking countries.
Which is similar to Patois, right?
Yeah. I'll say it's, I guess, the parallel of it, you know. And Chop Life literally means take a bite out of life. And I wanted to take that concept and bring it here. Bring it here where it's like, yo, whatever happens, yo, just chop life before life chops you. Because at the end of the day, our time is limited. So while you're here, make the most that you can out of it. And it's also a play on my previous projects that I released, you know, with just the world, the term life, you know, like there was Life Ain't Free, in 2019. Then I had Life of Life in 2022. So I wanted to continue that trend, if you will.
Right.
But this time, Chop Life is like the first project that I have on the creative side where I'm really mixing all the cultural influences that I grew up with, that I never really got into earlier in my life as an artist. But now I felt the most confident that I think I could put it together in this way where, once again, marathon, like I'm in my own lane. Nobody else can do it the way I'm doing it. And nothing will sound out of place, or at least that's the vision behind it. So, yeah, I can give you songs in English, I can give you songs in French, I can give you songs, like you mentioned, in Spanish, I can give you songs in Pidgin, I can give songs even in my family's tribal language called Limbum. That's 5 languages. But they're all there for artistic value. They're all there for you to listen, and then you'll be like, yo, like, maybe I don't understand what he's saying, but damn, it sounds fly as hell.
That's it.
Sounds fly as hell. And it's the way the world is working now too. Like I noticed, and it's a trend that I've noticed from years back, where the world is getting bigger / smaller with the internet. Everything doesn't have to be in one format anymore. Especially in the industry now, you can do whatever you want. You could do whatever you want, and you could find a public that is going to respect what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing. So I really decided to lean into it with Chop Life. So now Balok is an example of Balok means bad luck in Pidgin. And it's just like a term where, if something unfortunate happens, like, wow, Balok, like, damn, like,
Right.
which kind of Balok this, like, what's going on, but
It's not bad luck, but it sounds like bad luck.
No, yeah, it means bad luck.
Right, okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's that. It means bad luck, but it's like, damn, like, it's bad luck. But like, you'll say it in a situation like, bad luck. Like, you forgot your keys at home. Bad luck. I have to go back and get my keys. Something like that,
Right.
I wanted to play on that, and the song itself, the vibe is, yes, we're African, but we grew up in DG.
Right.
A lot of our childhood friends are West Indian,
Yeah,
Caribbean, so.
facts.
Like, I joke, so at one point I was like, I'm a Caribbean stepchild because I was so involved in the community. I know the music, the food, the tradition, so I was like, let me get into that bag a bit too, but mix now with culturally with what I have back home in Cameroon. So I mixed the term in Pidgin, but I put a Caribbean vibe to it, and I was happy to execute that because I wouldn't be able to have executed that if I didn't grow up with all the Jamaicans, the Trinis, the Vincies, Grenadians, Guadeloupe, Martinique, like everybody that's been around me, Haitians. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have their influence.
True.
So that right there is Montreal too. Like, if we've been bringing it larger, if I bring it out to the rest of the world, they're gonna be like, yo, what you're hearing is a typical flavor of Montreal. Like, this is a man. You go to Montreal, like, one person is not just where they're from, they're where they grew up and they are who they're around. So that's the beauty of it, where I feel like Montreal is there's a significant element to Montreal where the rest of the world, it doesn't happen the same way it happens here. You have an Asian guy who can cook poutine, who speaks French like a Haitian, and they still go back home to their own heritage. And that's, in the flip side, that was me, yes, Cameroon at home, go outside, dealing with the world in the way the world is. But I think Balok was the best example of me putting that together, and it's a vibe I tried to put together, so yeah. So
I got to tell you this, I didn't know I was going to interview or even have a conversation with a young philosopher, man. You got a bright mind, for real. You got a bright mind. So, speaking of Montreal, because I know you've been working for years, you've been performing in LA, you had love. I saw performances of you in LA, people are showing love. Toronto. You went overseas. You're planning on going to Europe soon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I'll be going. Normally, I was invited to go perform at New School Rules. In Netherlands.
Man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Would you say that, has there been a moment, or you feel at this moment that you've outgrown the city? You've outgrown Montreal's hip hop scene?
I don't want to say outgrown,
Right.
but the vision has expanded tremendously. Where there was a point in time where I was just writing with the focus of, I just want to be nice in the city, and I want wherever I go, people recognize that I'm nice in the city.
Right.
That is ultimately subjective. You know, what I as I got older and as I developed my career and understood how to shape my vision more, is like, okay, now my energy is the ideas that I have and the way I'm trying to execute and how I'm trying to show myself. I can't limit myself to the city or the province because they may not even understand. Maybe Montreal, yes, but the rest of Quebec may not understand
True.
what I'm doing.
Especially if it's not rap Quebec.
Yeah, especially, you know, and that's no slight. That's no slight
No.
to the Quebec industry or you know, or the artists here doing it because they're doing it. But I know I represent Montreal, but I don't necessarily represent Quebec.
Right.
It's crazy. Like, and only somebody from Montreal can understand that sentence the way I said it that way. If you're in Trois-Rivières, if you're in Chicoutimi, if you're even in Quebec City, you may not understand that. You can be like, wait, what are you talking about? Montreal's in Quebec, so how do you know? I am somebody who I know I represent Montreal 100%, but I do not represent Quebec in the way that Quebec maybe want to be represented internationally, which is fine. So I'm going to take that and just go else in the world with it because I can blend with my travels where I've been to. I know I can blend with everybody else. I can blend everywhere else in the world and still maintain my, going back to my point at 7 years old, still maintain my core standing. I'm solid wherever I go. And they ask me where you're from. Like, I'm from Montreal. I never met somebody from Montreal. Damn, like, is that like, this is, you know, this is how we do things. This is how we speak. This is how we move, you know, and it's really different than the rest of the province or even the rest of the country. So I don't want to say I've outgrown the Montreal scene because the scene itself is still, the scene is always going to be growing and people are always going to bring you energies. And it's very distinct and it's very, it has its own thing going on. And I'm happy to be part of it and I always want to contribute to it. But I feel like I can do two things. I can contribute to it here while I'm here physically, while still bringing it and being export ready for whatever is happening outside. So the vision is bigger than Montreal, but you know, it's always at Montreal. It's always Montreal at its core.
Got it.
Yeah.
So in other words, if I understood correctly, act local but think global.
Yeah. You know. Yeah. You summed it up. I'm thinking global. Balok is a song that Balok is his example is global. Like you could hear, if you hear it in Trinidad, you hear it in Mexico, you hear it in Turkey, you hear it in Paris, you hear it in Yaoundé, you hear it in Senegal. And you'll hear it here in Montreal and say, okay.
You have a big following in Brazil also, if I'm not mistaken, or Eastern Europe.
So, like,
I see
at one point, so one of my most streamed songs called "Speak the Truth" that came out in 2019, Life Ain't Free album, and that out of nowhere just started getting mad burn in Brazil. I was like, okay, what's going on? Like mad burn in Brazil, and then like people were messaging me, DMing me in Portuguese. Luckily, because I taught myself Spanish, there's certain structures I could more or less understand, but I have my boys, some of my people I know that speak Portuguese, so I was able to ask them, you know, yo, translate this for me, whatever. But nah, like I got mad love from them, and then at one point my other song, Let Me Ball, started getting mad love in Turkey, and you know, I got that was like the first time I got charted was because of that. Like I think 4 songs ended in like iTunes top 200 charts in Turkey. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, like that's crazy. You know, what an acknowledgement. You know, and in the grand scheme of things, it could be big, could be small, but like these are little stats that, you know, that keep me going. It's like, okay, like that's an example of I'm here locally, but there's a group of people in the world somewhere that are hearing this and they are in love with it. So why should I rob them of that joy? I want to give more. I want to give them more.
That's
you know.
it.
So yeah,
it's amazing. And you make music in Spanish, you know, French, English. You said Pidgin as well. So what has been the feedback from your fans, or do you feel like some fans prefer you rapping only in English or only in French? How do you manage to deal with all of that?
It's still new to a lot of people. It's not new to me because it's been a growing artistic exercise for years now. But you know, some people have told me like my song. So for example, my first official full French song was Paide. That came out 2022 off My Life for Life, and that's like a song ended up. That's the first time I got on Sirius XM radio, for example.
Which is big.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Big.
Like to this day, I'm happy. You know, I'm happy you got that nod, and some people told me, they're like, yo, I heard that song, I had no idea what you were doing.
Okay.
Like, I had no idea what you were doing, but then this, like, it's a good song. Like, it's, you know, like, they just didn't know, they had no, they, I guess they were maybe used to a certain image of me or what I was doing from before, but then also it shows that, you know, maybe some people fall in and out, they're not really sure what you're doing, so some people didn't really see the progress, the progression of it, so it was black and white for some people. But then now with Paide being a song that they heard, they're like, okay, but then now I follow up with the song like Knock My Door, which was my first single off Chop Life.
Which is catchy.
Yeah, Knock My Door, it's English, but then at a point I'm hitting them with a Spanish verse. They're like, okay, but now it's like, okay, I'm seeing the bag that you're in, I'm seeing the bag that you can flip, and it's like, you know, everybody has, I've gotten more applause than criticism, to be honest.
Okay.
You know, just the attempt of me trying to do it the way I'm doing it. Because when we were younger, that wasn't the flow. That wasn't, everybody was like, okay, it's got to be in English. It's got to be one thing.
Right.
Don't confuse too many people. But now, like I said, the world is big and people are seeing things from different ways. It doesn't have to be like that, you know? Yeah, so just to say, people have appreciated the attempt, and if they like Knock My Door, Paide, and things like that, it's like, well, then you're going to love Chop Life, because I'm really in my bag and I'm blending it in a way that it doesn't feel, like I said, it feels natural.
Right.
And it is natural because it's my day-to-day anyway. You know, I'm not limiting myself, and that doesn't limit my ideas.
Now, with what you're saying, how would you, because I have arguments for that.
Go ahead.
What would you say is helping you stay focusing on one thing, like that one actual strength that you have? Okay, I'm better I'm better rapping in English, or I'm better rapping in French, and not spreading yourself too thin for the most part.
And so I love that you said that. That's something that comes to mind. So the one thing, the constant,
Right.
the constant is, I guess it helps with the branding and how I present myself. It's like, the constant is that, yo, at the end of the day, yes, I speak English. It's the first language, it's the language I learned first. I can give you bars or feeling, because it doesn't have to be bars necessarily in different languages. The different languages allow me to explore creatively what's happening outside, and I can bring it back. There's some songs that can be completely in English, lyric-wise, but I thought of it in a different language, and then I went to see what other songs or what kind of energy is there, and I brought that maybe flavor and I put it in the production.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's a thing where it doesn't have to be, quote unquote, the bars that change the language or that change the flow. It's just that it gives me a different bag. And that's what allowed me to not get writer's block for all these. Like, I haven't had writer's block in at least 5 years.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know, when
As
it's
a
like,
songwriter?
when I get
powerful.
to a spot, like, I just literally think in a different language, and that's a whole different bag of expressions, and that's a whole different bag of songs to listen to be to if you're looking for inspiration, or movies or art or anything.
Right.
You know, a whole nother world, and then you could bring it back. You know, so I guess that's the best way I can answer your question. Where it's like, okay, that's gives me a certain constant where I'm gonna start off maybe in English, if we're just speaking on the language front, but when I switch it in my head, it gives me a different vibe, and I can put it in the song in different approaches.
Got it.
Whether on the production or even when I perform it, I can give a different version of the song.
Got it. I'm gonna ask you a last few questions. So one of the questions I want to ask you is, you've performed at community events, you've performed at local festivals, and you've performed where there was a lot of younger artists, or even younger people. Today's generation, you know, they call it Gen Z, Gen X, if I'm not mistaken.
Gen Z. Yeah.
Thank you. So what would you say is a way you're able to connect with them and leave something behind?
That's a good question. I think overall, I try not to be stuck in time or era, because when you do that, you date yourself. You do that, you date yourself, and then when you date yourself, you're not in what's happening right now, and that doesn't mean you have to follow what's happening right now. That doesn't mean you have to follow, because then you're going to get lost regardless.
Right.
You know, trends come and go, but the idea is, I know the era I come from, especially when I was much younger, and I know that, you know, it's not that anymore the way that maybe we remember it, which is okay. That's nostalgia. You know, we're all nostalgic. And so what I want to do sometimes I think about that, but I'm like, okay, how can I, if I'm nostalgic, how can I take the nostalgia and flip it in today's terms or in today's language or in how we're doing things today? And that could be in, for example, a simple example is structure of songs.
Right.
When I started writing songs, you know, the typical rap song would be 3 verses, right? You start with 3 verses, 16 bars, 8-bar chorus, whatever. 3 to 4 minutes. That's how I started. I was imitating that structure. Now that's not so much the case. Now it's like you probably have 2 verses, maybe you add a bridge, maybe, you know, you have one. Sometimes you have 1 verse songs. Some of your songs where it's a chorus, 1 verse, the chorus song is over.
Right.
Yes, you know, different influences, streaming, technology, whatever. That's besides the point. That's what's happening right now. So in my head, I'm okay, how can I take, I'm not going to write a 3-verse song, but how can I take that energy and bring it in today's song structure? And that's the way I think about it. Because in that way, if I'm around younger kids or younger artists,
Right.
they get it instinctively, but maybe the vets that are there also understand that, okay, the way I'm approaching it is how they remember it.
Okay.
And I try to apply that in various aspects, whether it be songwriting, whether it be branding, whether it be content, whether it be, you know, even my look, you know. So, yeah.
Everything is artistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just end off with this. Could you give us a last 8 to 16 bars of what we could expect in Chop Life?
Oh my gosh, put me on the spot. Let me see.
Feel free to look at the camera if you want to, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm literally going through Rolodex of all the songs. Okay. All I did was try my best. All I did was try my best each and every day. Even though there was some times where I couldn't stay. In my zone, in my head, it was such a maze. Turn the music up if you know you could relate. On my balcony thinking if I jump, will I land? Holding on to faith, but it's like grabbing sand. My life is only once, so I want to do it all. But I learned from my me. Chop long, chop small, I beg. Pour small, pepper soup, my taste time. Last year you was first place, I replace Sam. Anybody who get moto, I go race Sam. Any money enter my eye, duplicate them. All of my enemies, I pray God save them. Jealous you the jealous, vex you the vex. Cocky no be led up, but there's gold in my vest. I'm the best and I say it with my chest, so yeah.
Amazing, man. Hey.
Respect.
That was dope.
Respect.
That was dope, man.
Respect.
I just want to say, man, what you're doing is honorable. People don't know that.
Appreciate you.
You've been working, you've been consistent, and man, all I could say is just keep going, keep
Respect.
going. You know
Respect.
what I mean?
I appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Love.
No doubt.
It's a wrap.